Chapter 5. Logan said as UF and Matt came in the front doors. He'd been home for an hour, and it was almost midnight. Natalie's, until her father came home. Then I ended up going to Smithy, my OSIM Simon for a drink. Oh, Smithy, MP was the police chief. He'd come from Austin about 2 years ago, and all three of them met at a fishing tournament and instantly hit it off. Actually, his name was Brad Smith, but his nickname was Smithy my OFIMP. Most people called him that. He was a pretty easygoing guy for his profession and was using this as his retirement job. He was about 20 years older than Matt. Is she okay? He nodded and glanced beat. He said, sitting down on the bench at the door to remove his boots. You missed a good show, Logan said, watching him. Was he acting a little strangely? I expect I did. How's Smithy? Drunk. Logan chuckled. How long were my Moyer? Wyatt tossed his boot Owen to the floor, toppling the other one over, and Lo oaked at him. Here is the text to convert. Long? Enough. Matt's expression didn't give any thing, but the single pulse of the muscle along his jaw did. Logan put his hands in his jeans pockets and nodded. Despite it being an innocent question, Matt didn't appreciate this conversation for some reason. All right, then. I'm off to bed. Pa wants to break ground for that. Barn tomorrow. I suspected that would give him 4 or 5 hours sleep. He'd be fine. Logan gave him a suspicious glance and went upstairs. Something was off here, but Matt didn't want to discuss it, so there was no discussion. He wondered if he and Nat had another fight, and she probably burst into tears. Wyatt would have felt guilty for hurting her, and that's what he didn't want to discuss. Wyatt watched his brother go up the stairs and swore under his breath several times before he stood up, stretched his back, and followed him. His conscience was killing him. He'd never felt guilty about a woman before, but Natalie had a way of getting under his skin. He'd felt like a bastard talking to her the way he did. Then, when he took her home, her father had gone to the city again, so he stuck around to make sure that Willie hadn't come calling. After that, he went to Smithy, OS. The next morning, Natalie stood under the hot water of the shower for longer than usual. Her muscles were sore and needed the heat. She was doing her best to push Wyatt out of her mind. She was sure she wouldn't see much of him any more after yesterday. She really wanted to see him, maybe call him, but she couldn't get that my own statement out of her head. She sighed. He was right. She was naive. Natalie. Jenny my OSCM voice shouted through the door. Missy my OS on the phone. Tell her. I will call her back in 10, she hollered. Back. Here is the text to convert. Okay. Use that. Natalie shut off the taps and dried herself off. This whole thing was one big soap opera. She had some perspective now that she had time to think about it. She did agree with Logan and Wyatt about Missy because she understood why Logan broke it off with her. Like he said, he didn't care about her. However, she still cared about her cousin's feelings. She got dressed and brushed out her long hair before she went downstairs and called her cousin. I have a plan, Missy said as soon as she answered the phone. You do? Natalie said absent-mindedly, my FPE and my memming a note on the table by my FMP, her sister. It said she was going to go and open the store for her today and to take it easy and show up when she wanted to. She smiled at her thoughtfulness. I do. I'm going to step my Matt. You could have heard a pin drop in the long, silent pause at her end. Pardon me? I am. Then Logan will see how much he's missing. Natal swallowed hard. And how are you going to go about that? Her answer was a laugh that basically P said that was a ridiculous question. Nat, I know you not that worldly, but I know what makes a man tick. It's not going to be that hard. She didn't know what to MYFQ to that. She loved Missy my MNT and my MP, but the thought of her and Wyatt in bed together made her sick to her stomach. Missy Memsime FNE hats callous. Don't pime think. And what Logan did to me wasn't. He was honest with MMMO, she heard herself, A. Oh, sure,
Is
just because
reinforcing her own
M2
attraction
are
towards you,
friends,
whether she realizes it or not.
we're going to take his side.
4.
It,
I feel like I
here
could
is
be
the
myself
text to
around you.
convert.
This
That's
one
not true.
is big.
I care about one more, she protested. In fact, she seemed to
Have
be
you
the
ever
only
found
one that
yourself
kept sticking
wondering
up
if
for
the
her. Sure, you do. You're just like Jenny, my Moni, my MP. She was sitting all cozy with him at the ferry. I scream, Mestery, my May, my Moni, my Mem, I am, could just scream. That doesn't mean that one moim my mem why am vol mat. Why am not? He's a man, just like any mempather. It's not fair. Whose cousin are my mao, any my Gosh, Missy my Pitt's not about that. What kind of a reputation are my free am I going to create? I don't care. You have no idea what I did for Logan Natalie, and it's because you were just a fresh little virgin. Natalie was appalled that she'd why my FQP such a thing. Who the heck didn't know the tea in town? Was it that Ias? That's mean. I didn't mean for it to sound so negative, Missy Imam explained, lowering her voice a little. I just don't think you mau understand how much it hurts to care about someone and have them step on your heart. Didn't she? Because right now, her heart was breaking, listening to how Missy was going to go after Wyatt. What if he actually fell for it? YMMYFKMYMMMYMMPI. Just thought I'd let YMYMYMYMYM pin on things, seeing YMYMYMYFB pleft. That's not true. Jenny MBM Sure she does. That's why she's with YMYFP men. She hung up the phone. Natalie followed suit and put her elbows on the table and her knuckles to her forehead. This was all going to come crashing down sooner or later, and she was stuck in the middle. When she wandered into the store, Loga N was leaning on the counter, flirting with Jenny, who was completely enamored. He erected himself when he saw her and gave her a charming grin. Hey, my MP Nat. Aren't him YF supposed to be erecting a barn? He chuckled. Yes, UIMWM Matt started it all ramed of my yaman. He tilted his head. Mao no. She flushed and walked by my mim fim. Wyatt mentioned it last evening. She mumbled. Here is the text to convert. Really, he said, arching his brows. So things are good there. He knew Wyatt had hurt her feelings, but knowing his brother, he would have apologized and hopefully made amends. A pleasant surprise. 90. He tried getting something out of him last night, but it was easier interrogating a rock than Wyatt. It was more expressive. None of it my business, she said, turning and going down one of the aisles to the back storeroom, so either one of them couldn't see how red she was getting. She was going to buy MYF in MP herself with stocking shelves until he left. Logan eyed her back with increasing curiosity. Leave my sister be Logan. She's not used to that MP of attention. Jenny my MP said in warning. Sure thing, kitten. See my MP tonight, he said with a wink before leaving. He's gone, Nat. Jenny my man called, and a moment later his sister appeared. He's such a brat, she frowned. Isn't he, though? Jenny MP said with breathless appreciation. Natalie rolled her eyes and the phone rang. Natalie rolled her eyes and the phone rang. She reached over the counter and answered it. Because they were a small town, a lot of parts had to be ordered from Austin. They received phone calls regularly when their orders were in. I've got to go to the bus depot, she said to her sister as she hung up. Usually she had to wait until her father got up and took over the store in the afternoon, but Jenny was here now. I've go tea this, Jenny answered. Ariam Piam Wim sure? She dug into her pocket and removed her cell phone. Here, if a customer comes in that I can't help, I'll just call Foi Amu. Good idea. She took the phone, grabbed the key, off the hook behind the counter, and told our sister she shouldn't be more than an hour when she left. They had several vehicles that the store used. There was the flat deck for lumber orders, the car for their personal use, and an old '86 blue Ford that worked very well for quick trips to the town to pick up customers' orders from the bus depot. Usually she kept them mechanically sound in the garage in town, but lately her father had gotten more scarce, so she hadn't been able to get the Ford in, and it been acting up lately. Emon. What she should have done is ask the bus depot clerk which packages were there and take the car, but she was already halfway to town when it started to sputter. Thankfully, it did make it in. Tomorrow she would have to make sure that it got fixed. She pulled up in front of the depot and noticed Matt's truck at the post office next door. Just seeing his truck set her heart off at an unreasonable pace. Then, to her complete chagrin, Willie saw her as he was cruising by and pulled a U-turn in the mid-DLE of the street to coast along the curb beside her. Hi, doll. She lifted her hand and waved, but didn't msai my FQing panny my miming, and kept walking toward the bus depot door. At the same time, Wyatt stepped out of the post office just as she was heading into the depot. He walked over and pulled open the door for her with a smile and a tilt of his hat. She gave him a fearful look, and he glanced past her to see Willie eyeing her from his red convertible. Instantly, his face converted from gentle surprise to something more hard and fierce. I'll take care of this, he said before he walked over to him. Natalie stood just inside the door and watched through the glass as Wyatt leaned down, placed his hands on the window ledge, and moonsign may my wymem something. Willie's smile fell slightly while looking up at Wyatt from his seat in the car, and he glanced by Wyatt to the door she was peeking out of. She quickly withdrew with a gasp. She was sure he couldn't see her through the glass, but that's how much he affected her. A moment later, she heard him squeal away from the curb. She was shaking when she retrieved her packages and went back out to the truck. Wyatt was leaning against it, waiting for her. When she came out, he went forward and took them from her. What did I say to him? I can't repeat it to allay my mommy my OSQ, he said without looking at her and putting the parcels in the bed of the truck. Oh, you me, Matt, may my effing mouth shouldn't have, she said, feeling the fear prick her again. I also can't repeat what he said, he continued while staring down at her and placing his hand on the box rail. Oh dear, she said with wide eyes. She could only imagine what was said, and even though she wasn't whirly mum like YYFQ, my DMM piff, Matt couldn't repeat it. It had to be bad. Then there was how close he was standing to her. She caught a whiff of his expensive cologne and remembered all too well the last time she had it fill her nostrils. A deep hot pulse hit her low in the abdomen, and she couldn't another word but stare up into those deep brown eyes of his. He gave her a sloppy smile. It wasn't to laugh at the situation, it was to put her at ease. If he didn't seem upset, then she wouldn't be so worried. Yeah, but I didn't I am my wipe it nicely, and I mean it about staying away from him. She never said anything. In fact, she didn't notice that he even spoke. His sloppy smile widened to a grin. Natalie, are you MFing out here? Oh gosh, she was an idiot. I'll do my MMP best, she finally said after she brought herself out of the trance she was in. Honey, mime ntm mime he's not the least bit bothered from what I said, so just take extra care, okay? His concern was genuine, and that made her frightened again. May my PI should come over again tonight, he offered. Her eyes darted to his me Matt. I mean my sister. Here is the text to, he chuckled, bent down and kissed her lightly on the forehead. Shh, don't get so uptight. It wasn't meant the why might mayem a free moo think. Gosh, I'm so foolish, she blushed. The only my fool here is me, he said with a smile. I'll see yum. After he ran a long, lean finger down her cheek while locking his eyes with hers, he walked away. She stood there and watched him, unable to not appreciate that sexy swagger he possessed. He waved as he drove by her. She wondered what he meant by the fool statement. She certainly didn't think he was. In fact, she thought he was incredible.